guys, it's Izzy here, and today I'm doing my November book haul, showing you all the books that I got in November. I got 15 of them, which is quite a bit. That is the max amount that I am allowed to get in a month. So if you're wondering, I get the 15 max account includes books I buy myself, gifts, books and subscription boxes, books I win in giveaways. That is all included. So every month I don't buy all these books myself because sometimes I get gifts, sometimes I win books, which is really nice and we love when that happens. Let's get into this video. So the first book that I have today is Love, Comment, Subscribe by Kathy Yardley. This is a new release romance. I'm pretty sure it's self-published, but do not count me on that. This came out last month. So in high school, Lily Wang was at the bottom of the social ladder and an oddball, but she had dreams of becoming popular. Now, in the present day, Lily is a popular beauty guru and is nearing 5 million subscribers on YouTube. She's so close to brands nearly recognizing her to give her her own makeup line, and she's so close to living her dream. One of the guys that Lily was friends with in high school, he was in her oddball group of friends as well, is Tobin. He's also an influencer. He streams video games. But his road to fame hasn't been as easy as Lily's, as his parents didn't approve of him dropping out of college for the career of gaming, and his channel is currently at a standstill and he's trying to get up into the algorithms again. So his agent sets him up to do a collaboration with Lily, and it brings traction to both of their channels. And what does it do to their hearts? So I think this book will be really relatable because I did start my YouTube channel. It's like a fashion beauty guru, and I stream video games as well on Twitch. So I think I can relate to both of the characters. And also, I wasn't at the bottom of the social ladder in high school, but I wasn't at the top either. So I can relate to that part of being cooler now than I was in high school. But I think I was cool the whole time and people just don't really appreciate it. That's how we were as unpopular kids in high school. So the next book I got used, and that is Thehlebotomist. This is by Christian Pantatier. I looked up Barnes & Nobles all over 2 states and could not find this book. So I finally found it used, which is super nice, and I found this book on Boston's channel. So in a near future society, there has been a war, and now there is an effort to collect or harvest blood. Willow works for a company called Patriot, and she does that to support herself and her grandson. So society has been segregated by the different types of blood that people carry, and Willow has a history of working with blood, so she hopes that her decades-old techniques can help fix society, but while doing this, she uncovers the dark intentions that the Patriot company has. So I think this will be a lot of fun because my favorite setting in science fiction is near future, because it's like, this could happen to us. We could live to see something like this happen. And then this is kind of sounds dystopian to me, and I think a lot of near future science fiction is usually dystopian, but it takes me back to middle school with books like The Hunger Games and Divergent. So it should be interesting to see a dystopian from an adult novel rather than young adult or middle grade. So November was nonfiction November, so I made an effort to buy more nonfiction books. So we will see several of those in this video, and this is one that I got used, and I heard about this book on Hardcover Hearts. That's one of my favorite channels in here, so definitely check her out. So this is The Sisters, The Saga of the Mitford Family by Mary S. Lovell. So this is a story of a British family in high society during World War II, and World War II divided them. So Jessica supported the rise of communism, while Debo married an English duke and became a duchess, where Nancy is a best-selling writer, Diana married a fascist leader, and Unity was a friend of Hitler and commits suicide at the start of the war. So just all these women went down such different paths, and I wonder what the cause of that was, because obviously, well, we can assume since they're sisters, they were all raised in similar situations, but they all went down such completely different paths. I want to know if they kept communication when all this was happening, and what after the war was like for them. Did they just never talk to each other again? What was the war like? Because they were born in high society. Did they live that way for the rest of their lives? So I think this should be super interesting. I don't know anything about the Mitford family. I know they're a very well-known family, but I only know what was on the synopsis of the book. Okay, now these are the books that I got at Barnes & Noble. Again, sticking with a lot of nonfiction. We have When Women Ruled the World, Making the Renaissance in Europe by Maureen Killigan. So the 1500s were not a stable time in Europe. The old traditions were being exchanged for new, and religious wars raged. But one of the dominant things in this era was female power. We had a queen on the thrones of England and Scotland. There were mothers of kings, daughters of kings, and they all had their hands in the pot of politics that stirred around the world. So we really focus on Mary and Elizabeth Tudor, so Bloody Mary and then Elizabeth I. Then we have Catherine de' Medici and Mary, Queen of Scots. So I think this will be super interesting for me because if you don't know, Reign was the show that got me into period dramas, therefore getting me into historical fiction. Now, I do not recommend Reign for historical accuracy because that show is not accurate. The costumes would drive me crazy now, but middle school me really enjoyed it and it was a lot of fun for me. So, and that show focuses on Mary, Queen of Scots and Catherine de' Medici. And then the Tudors. Who doesn't love learning about the Tudors? There's so much drama there. And then again, Catherine being a Medici. The Medici are my favorite family to learn about in history. And I love Italy. It's one of my favorite places, if not my favorite. So I cannot wait to learn all about these women. And as I said, Reign and the Tudors, those TV shows are not known for their historical accuracy. So reading a nonfiction book will hopefully let me learn more about these characters in history. So sticking with that nonfiction about royal people, and this is this is about the generation before, or two generations before the generation we were just talking about, and that is Elizabeth of York, A Tudor Queen and Her World by Alison Weir. So Elizabeth was born the child of a king and queen, and her birth had been celebrated as though she was a male heir to the throne. After the death of her father, things were not easy for the princess. Her family was at war with one another, and her brothers were locked away in a tower and then mysteriously disappeared. So Elizabeth was seen as a good bride for her uncle, Richard III, who had a dying wife, and the man across the sea, Henry Tudor. Elizabeth and Henry's marriage brought together the warring houses of Lancaster and York, bringing us into the Tudor age. So Elizabeth of York is my favorite English queen. Henry the Tudor is my favorite English king. And that is for like that era. In modern times, I do have different opinions. But for 500 years ago, or however many years ago it was, they were my favorites. I actually got to see their graves, as well as Mary, Queen of Scots, and a few of the other people I mentioned earlier I have been to the graves of. So I've read fiction books by Alison Weir, but never nonfiction. So this should be interesting. I think this is, as I said, she is my favorite English queen. So I think this will be a good place to start out with the nonfiction books from Alison Weir. Now we have Wild by Cheryl Strayed, which I have read this month and loved. But let me tell you what it's about. So at the age of 22, Cheryl Strayed has the rug pulled out from under her with the untimely death of her mother. So the grief leads her into a cycle of cheating on her husband, therefore her grief ending her marriage. So Cheryl knows she needs to get away and fix her issues, and that leads her to the Pacific Crest Trail. She starts this journey in Mojave in Southern California and goes all the way to Mount Hood at the Oregon and Washington border. So throughout the trail, she sees comparisons of nature and the trail to that of her life. And this is probably my favorite nonfiction book that I've read this year. The writing is so beautiful, and I just haven't read a nonfiction book with writing like that. Just the metaphors throughout of the nature and her life were just so powerful. And this book made me cry several times, and I'm usually not an emotional reader. I don't cry while reading, but this book did it, so I definitely recommend this one. Then we have a thriller. I found out about this book through Books with Brittany, one of my other favorite channels, so definitely check her out, and that is Summer Sons by Lee Mandello. So Andrew and Eddie have been best friends as long as they could remember. This changes when Eddie goes to college at Vanderbilt. A few days before Andrew is set to join him at the university, Eddie appears dead, an apparent suicide. Andrew is left behind with a life that is all new to him, new people, a new setting, and he doesn't know what to do without his best friend. So Andrew goes on the hunt to find out what really happened to his friend. Along the way, he finds blood-soaked hands of family members, and that just adds so much more drama to his best friend's death that he is trying to get to the bottom of. So this book had a lot of key factors of what pulls me into a book. So we have LGBT representation, which is always awesome to see in books. It is a Southern Gothic, as Vanderbilt is in Tennessee, and I love Southern Gothics because I feel like I can relate to the settings, as I've lived in the South my whole life, and I can relate to the characters knowing what kind of lives they've lived, as they've lived in the same area as me. And then there is car racing in this book, which is one of my passions, and I've never got to read about car racing before, so I can't wait to see how Lee Mandello includes all of those different things in this book. Now we have a classic, and that is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas? I'm not sure, it's French. So Edmond Dantes is in prison for a crime that he did not commit. While in prison, he hears about a treasure on the Isle of Monte Cristo. That inspires him to plan an escape to the island and uncover the treasure. He's going to plan to blame the uncovery on the men who got him into prison in the first place. So this is a story of revenge, and I think we might have read bits and pieces of this in high school, but we did not read this whole book. There's over 1,000 pages. So this book was actually recommended to me by one of you guys, I think by Chris. So I have a list of prompts on so I have reading prompts, a list, and I'm going to do number generators for a TBR in a future video. And one of the prompts is read a book that a subscriber recommended. And as I said, Chris recommended The Count of Monte Cristo, so I had to get it. So yes, if there are books that you guys think I should read or your favorite book, let me know in the comments and I will add the book title and your name to the list, and you might just get a shout out. Okay, we're back to nonfiction with The House of Gucci by Sarah Gay Forden. Sorry, the cell tag was blocking the name. So this is a true story of murder, madness, glamour, and greed. So in the early spring of 1995, the heir of the Gucci fashion brand is murdered. Nearly 3 years later, the wife of the heir is sentenced to nearly 30 years in prison. Why would she hire an unknown gunman to kill her husband? Was it because of his spending habits, or because he had plans on wedding his mistress, or did she do it at all? So if you're not aware, this became a movie and it released last week. We have Lady Gaga, Adam Driver, Al Pacino, so lots of big names. Oh, Jared Leto, and there's a few others that I'm forgetting, but an amazing cast of characters, and it's my most anticipated movie of the year. So I was like, should I read the book first or should I watch the movie? I've come to the conclusion that I want to see the movie first. As it is about a murder, I feel like I should go in not knowing anything, but I will read this at some point. It is over 500 pages, even though it does not look that at all, and it's so floppy. And again, this has an Italian setting. We love Italy. Huge crush on Adam Driver, so can't wait to see him. And then Lady Gaga is simply one of the most talented people out there, so I cannot wait to see her in a movie. Now we have my book of the month picks. First, The Family by Naomi Krupski. And this is, Sophia is a wild child and a free spirit, where Antonia is introverted and just fine not being in the middle of things and just observing. So, however, the two have been best friends since birth. They grew up in houses side by side, and their families refer to themselves as the family. So Antonia's father starts talking about his dreams of having a different kind of life, and suddenly he disappears after talking about those dreams. So this book really just shows what that does to their relationship as families and whatnot. This is set in 1950s Brooklyn. I've seen it compared to The Sopranos a lot. Now, I have not seen The Sopranos, so I can't tell you if it really does compare, but it seems like it's mob related. And I haven't really read that many mob related things, but I am intrigued by that. And I love a New York City setting. I think I've probably said that a few times here. And then I haven't read that many books that take place in the 1950s, so I definitely want to read more. So if you have any books that are set in the 1950s that you think I might like, let me know. So I did get an add-on because I have been in such a reading mood recently. I think November I've read more books than I've read any other month this year. So I got Velvet Was the Night by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is the author's new release. So this is set in 1950s Mexico. My 8 finds time away from the hectic world by reading secret romance. Her next door neighbor is Lenora, and she seems just like the girls that are in the stories that my 8 reads, but suddenly Lenora goes missing. So, Lenora disappears, and my 8 finds herself trying to find out what happened to the girl because they were suspicious circumstances. But somebody else is also hired to look for the girl, and that is Elvis. He is a criminal but trying to get a different life for himself. But while he is looking for Lenora, he finds himself obsessed with another girl along the way. Ooh, I didn't really notice the back. I really like that. So this is a book that it's going to be a hit or miss for me. So I read Gods of Jaden's Shadow by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and that was an average read for me. Mexican Gothic I read this month and did not like it. You can check out my review. My blog is linked in the description. So if I don't like this one, 3 strikes, you're out of the ball game. I'm not reading any more of her books. If I like this, I might give more Sylvia Moreno Garcia's books a shot. So who knows what I'm going to think. So the next few here are from Target. I really recommend buying books from Target because they're always on sale there, 20 to 30% off. And that is so much cheaper than Barnes & Noble. So definitely give Target a shot. And this is Herta and a Love Song by Tracy Garvis Graves. So Layla was the front woman of a well-known band, and she's trying to get away from that image, and also she just got out of a 10-year marriage. She is 35 but feels like her life is just beginning, but there's a sense of loneliness and uneasiness as she has all this new freedom. Then we have Josh, who is getting out of a 20-year marriage with his high school sweetheart. So how do these worlds collide? So Layla teaches music at the school that Josh's child attends, and Josh and Layla just find themselves talking most days. And they are both trying to uncover this world of dating in the modern age with apps and social media and everything that comes with that. So they think it's a good idea to maybe date each other. So this book is actually blurbed by one of my favorite authors, Taylor Jenkins Reid, so that instantly draws me in. And I didn't realize that this is a romance. I thought it was going to be a literary fiction, but it is labeled as a romance on Goodreads, so hopefully I like it. And again, Taylor Jenkins Reid, giving it a blurb, that makes me feel pretty good. And I feel like this book can be related to Daisy Jones and the Six a lot, as it is about music. Our main character had a career in music, and then I can see comparisons to Evelyn Hugo as well, as somebody maybe looking back at their life, seeing what mistakes they made, or maybe what things were not mistakes in the long run of things. So I cannot wait to get into this because I do love books about music. Also from Target, we have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino. So Rick Dalton is a washed up actor who's not ready to call it quits to his career, but Hollywood and show business is evolving from more than just a weekly Western. Cliff Booth is his stunt double, and he has some mystery around him because he may have gotten away with murder in the past. Next door to Rick is the young and up-and-coming actress Sharon Tate, and somewhere across the county is Charles Manson. So you might be aware with this title and the name of the author. This was a movie that came out a year or 2 ago. I don't remember when. This is Quentin Tarantino's first novel though, but I was not aware that there are 2 versions of this book. So I have like the 200 something page version. So this version is the basically movie word for word, but in a prose format. Now the 400 page version that I do not have, but it's on my Christmas wish list, so hopefully I get it. That version is if the movie was based on a book, that would be the book. So you basically have to get both books if you want different stories and different outcomes and all of that. So this is a deluxe edition featuring new photos and bonus material. Like there's kind of like a graphic novel in the back and like movie posters of what the characters are all like in Hollywood, of what their movie posters would have looked like. So I think this will be a lot of fun. And I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, but I feel like I would give it a different review and rating now because I've just changed so much as a critic. And the movie is very character driven, and I love character driven novels, so I think I will prefer the book to the movie. But also, as I said, I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, but again, I do think this is going to be really different once I rewatch it. So who knows if I will like the book version or not. Let's get to a little book here, and this is The Queen's Gambit by Walter Tevis. Yep. Sorry, they put the tags right on the author's name, so I am never quite sure. But Beth Harmon is sent to an orphanage at the age of 8, and there are 2 ways that she can get out of this life: being drugged and subdued, or learning to play chess. she chooses the second option. People start to realize that Beth is very talented as she gets in the top rankings of the US. But this is not all about winning for Beth. This is so much more, and she feels like she will blow it. This is about survival and getting out of that life of poverty. So I watched Last Night in Soho last week. So I saw Anya Taylor-Joy for the first time, and she was truly amazing. I loved her before I saw the movie because I had never seen her in anything, but I know that she loves reading, and she's just so beautiful and has such like elegance to her. Like, she gives me that old Hollywood feel. So seeing her in a movie, that just added so much more. So I love and admire her so much. So I want to watch the Queen's Gambit because I think that's really what her claim to fame was. So I wanted to read the book first. I actually only thought this book was nonfiction, but it's not. It's fiction. Our last book is Beheld by Tara Shea Nesbitt. So 10 years after the arrival of the Mayflower, the Plymouth colony things are not going the way as planned. It's not the colony of religious freedom, but one of strict rules. And then there's a new boat of Anglican colonists coming to the colony, and the people in Plymouth just have had enough. So this is a mystery thriller set in a historical setting, and I've never read anything like that, and I've never read anything set in Plymouth. I have been to Plymouth, so I do think reading something set there should be interesting. And I really got this book in November because like that's where the first Thanksgiving took place, and Thanksgiving was this month, so you know. And look at this cover, so beautiful, again from Target. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, comment, rate, and subscribe. And let me know if you've read any of these books because I want to know what you guys think, but please no spoilers. I am going to be doing Vlogmas on my channel, so there will be multiple videos a week coming in December. So be sure to ring that notification bell to be notified when my videos go live. Bye!